Hey guys, so this is a video I've been wanting to make for a while, and I'm actually kind of nervous to make it. It's a hard subject, an emotional subject for me, and so I've been wanting to make this video for months and months. I've just never felt up to it. I still don't feel up to it, but this is my plan for today, to do this and then get in the bath, and that's it. Get comfortable, get your detox tea, some coffee, blanket, lay down in bed, and I hope you guys enjoy. I hope this can be informative. I hope that you guys can share this video so we can help just bring awareness to our disease. Now I have my blanket, I have my water. Touch base on a few things, and first of those things is, what is Lyme disease? And that could be a whole video within itself. So I reached out to some friends of mine, and a Lyme friend said that I could use her 1-minute super informative video, and a huge thank you to her for letting us watch this video. Make sure to check her Instagram out. She is actually in remission, which is absolutely amazing.
Lyme is different for people depending on when they caught it. If they caught Lyme disease within the first weeks, it is possible to cure. You can take antibiotics, but if you don't take action soon enough, it can become a lifelong condition. And here's why. The spirochete, called Borrelia burgdorferi, it's a bacteria that is shaped like a corkscrew. It has the ability to burrow through bone marrow. It has the ability to cross your blood-brain barrier. These are places that antibiotics don't reach as easily. The bacteria will create biofilm, which will protect it. It's kind of like a little cyst, and it makes medicine very hard to get to. And so that's why it becomes hard to treat if you don't catch it within that first time.
So I want to backtrack to not every detail, but a lot of it, of my life. Before Lyme, when I had Lyme, but we didn't know what it was, when I finally got diagnosed, how I've been since then, just touching on little things. So when I was younger, I've always loved dance. I've loved hanging out with my friends. It wasn't until I was like 10 or 12 that I started having any issues whatsoever. I never had the normal tick bite, but it's not just ticks. It can be so many other things. And instead of going into it, I'm actually going to put some pictures on the screen throughout this so you guys can read them to get some information as well. It's not just ticks. I could have had a tick because they're very, very tiny, but I have never seen a tick on me. I never had a bullseye rash or anything like that. Mosquitoes always loved me growing up. I'd get huge, huge welts, and so that's why I think that I got it from a mosquito. I could never really say for sure though. Speeding up to when I was about 10, 12, my wrists started hurting a lot. I would do this all the time because it was achy. My knees, my ankles, after dance, I'd come home and I'd cry. I'd have to take a bath. I'd have to have my mom rub my legs, and we thought it was growing pains, stuff like that. All 10, 12-year-olds don't need their moms to write their papers for them because their wrists just don't work and it hurts too much. I started going to chiropractors. They said it was tendinitis. I would get x-rays. I had MRIs. I had scans. I had ultrasounds. I had so many tests, but nothing would ever come up. And fast forward to when I knew I had Lyme, my doctor is like, 10-year-olds should not have tendinitis that bad. So something I want to encourage you with is, if you have something wrong and you can't figure out what it is, always consider Lyme disease, because it was never even brought up for me, ever. Fast forward my high school years, it would just be kind of like this. But honestly, I look back now and I'm like, I would give anything to have the amount of pain that I was in then, because now it's just, for almost 6 years, it's just been constant. I don't have weeks without any issues, months without issues. So I kind of forget that I wasn't feeling good because it was not nearly as bad as it got. I would wear tape on my knees from the chiropractor to try to keep my legs in place. I would go, whenever I'd be like at prom or stuff like that, if I had heels on, I'd always have to take them off because my ankles and my knees would go out of place. They'd hurt so bad. I found a journal for my wedding, and it I was praying for my strength and my pain levels to be low. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I still did so much stuff. I can't believe that that was my pain level. It was still very much there, but it was, again, nothing compared. I was able to deal with that. It wasn't debilitating at all. Something that is kind of hard for me, like I look at my wedding pictures and everyone's so much taller than me because I had them in heels, and I had heels too, but I also wore flats. And I ended up wearing my flats the whole day so I wouldn't be in as much pain. So all my pictures, I'm already a short person, but I'm so much shorter than everyone else because I didn't get to wear my heels that I had for my wedding. Which is okay. I'm just trying to share with you guys a little bit of the glimpse before I knew I had Lyme. I think that would get me emotional, but when I really break it down and talk about it, it is emotional. So anyway, I want to fast forward because, like I said, I have a lot I want to talk about, but Kyle and I getting married. I was 21, so exciting, and it was the best decision of my life. I just love him so much. A couple months after we were married, I started getting little twinges of like anxiousness, and we were so ready to be married. Like, marriage can be an adjustment, but ours was a happy adjustment. Like, I was not stressed. We weren't fighting. It was just, we loved being together 24/7. We loved being married, and we still do. But I just started feeling off. And it was like, what is going on? There's nothing I'm anxious about. And I really didn't have anxiety before that. However, there were spurts growing up. I would get stomach aches with bad anxiety, and it would be pretty bad. And people would call me names, and family members didn't believe me. And we didn't know what was wrong. And now I know that that's part of Lyme, and that was part of it festering and coming out. But who would have known that? They thought I was homesick or a crybaby, or I just couldn't handle little bits of pain. That stuff did happen, but it would just be like blips and then it would go away. So it was just really weird because I didn't have anxiety like leading up to getting married and anything like that. So that was my first kind of symptom, I guess you could say. Our first Christmas together, I was already in a wrist brace. I know that. And my wrist was out, and my wrist was hurting. It didn't stop hurting for about 1.5 years. It still hurts, but not to the point that it was. I teach dance, and I would go to our apartment, and I'd call Kyle crying. I'm like, I've done this since I was 3 years old. I've helped since I was 13. I've taught on my own since I was 15. But I am exhausted. I'm crying. I'm in pain, and I don't know why. And no one knew why. I started going to natural doctors because the normal route I had done, as I said, I went to a chiropractor for about 1 year for my tendinitis, a little bit of scoliosis, and just to try to help putting things back in place because it would go out. One of my earliest symptoms is that I would go out of place a lot. I'd get off the table and my knees would pop, and he'd go, get back on, and he'd try to get them back in. I started feeling like I was 90 years old. I started feeling like this. It was all I could do to sit up straight. It's still sometimes all I can do. And being a dancer, I always had really good posture. I loved working out. I was very active. But that was just gone. I had to stop working out. I couldn't use my right wrist. I was crying all the time. I took Epsom salt baths all the time. Like, Kyle would wake up in the middle of the night and I'd just be in the bath bawling because I'd be in so much pain. Summer of 2015, we went on a short trip to Ohio to visit family with some of our family, and I remember I blacked out on the trip. It was the 4th of July, and we were going to see fireworks, and I remember just feeling so off, so tired, and in so much pain, and that was a really hard trip because of all those feelings. Finally, we talked to our friend who's a nutritionist, and she said, I think you may have Lyme disease. She said, I think you should try, diet and some other things first, and then if you're not better, You need to get tested, which is a whole nother issue because testing is not accurate whatsoever. Lyme disease is based on symptoms more than the actual blood test. And so I try to tell people that when they're like, oh, I was mostly negative, or I was negative, but then there's nothing else, it could still be Lyme disease. Clearly I'm at the point where it is chronic because I've had it for so long. So I was positive. I had gone on a very strict rotation diet, cut off gluten, sugar, dairy, anything I was sensitive to for 2 years. I did that. Right now I'm on the keto diet. I do have dairy now because it doesn't affect me negatively. I'm still sugar-free and gluten-free though. I started with antibiotics. I did that. It was very helpful, but it also comes with horrid side effects. And long story short, after 3 years, my body said no, I couldn't do it anymore. The depression, the anxiety, the throwing up, the seizures, all of it was getting out of control. And I could go into that for 40 minutes, but I just want to touch on that a little bit. Quickly, I'm not on antibiotics now. I did a 1.5 years on the Cowden Herbal Protocol. For me, medication really just keeps me stable as to where I'm at now. It's very isolating. I was in my bathtub crying, feeling so alone, but we didn't know what was going on. You know, this is a learning curve for all of us. I was just wanting to freak out all the time. I just, you know, so much going into that. And I kind of want to break there on that and touch into some other things with Lyme disease, which is marriage, dating, families, friendships, because all of that gets strained. You lose friendships. Family members don't believe you.